Hello there, guys, and welcome back to my channel for another preview and predicted 11 plus all the Chelsea news there is to discuss. Live stream by myself ahead of Zenit St. Petersburg versus Chelsea taking place tomorrow night with the early kickoff. Actually, at 5:45 p.m. UK time, which it's all right. I guess the only positive is we can watch all the other games and not miss all the other games that are on while we're on. But, that is the only small positive because otherwise, who really cares? But there is actually a lot to get through today. Not as much about the actual game tomorrow, but still a lot to get through. One of the main questions that's been on most Chelsea fans' lips since the West Ham game especially, what even is the situation with Romelu Lukaku? Is he not fit? Is it just a problem? How do we fix the problem? Do we have any solutions? But also, Antonio Rüdiger is apparently on his way to Real Madrid. Came out like half an hour ago. We'll discuss that. We'll also discuss the whole injury drama that we have because now Jorginho is out. He's not traveling to St. Petersburg tomorrow. So, that's bloody brilliant. But there are a few positive news. I say it was more, turn into just one bit of positive news. Trevor Chalobah, his hamstring injury is not as bad as first feared, and he's even expected to return to training, I guess, next week, as soon as next week, or maybe next week at least. So that is positive. But... and probably the biggest but is Mateo Kovacic, because he did yesterday finally return back to training after 5 weeks of injury, and then today he tested positive for the Rona. Brilliant. Now, is that not what you want to hear? I mean, fingers crossed he doesn't suffer from any long, Rona symptoms that, affect his lungs and whatever, so he can at least get back to full fitness, ASAP once he's, over it. But it's not ideal. It's not ideal. Obviously, we still have the usual suspects of injuries, Ben Chilwell, Kante. Who knows how fit Romelu Lukaku is? Oh, yeah, one more positive. Kai Havertz didn't actually rip his whole ankle apart against West Ham, thankfully. Apparently, it was just a knock because he wasn't training today. He is traveling to St. Petersburg tomorrow, or today, and traveling to be in the squad tomorrow. Who knows whether he's fit to start or not? We'll have no idea. But at least he's in training, and it's nothing too serious. So those are the positive news. From some positive news into more positive news, we are joined again for the first time in a hot minute by Mr. Ian Craigo, 28 football. Can't talk anymore. Ian, thank you for coming. Appreciate it. I hope you've been well, mate. But how are you feeling about the situation at the moment? Obviously, we'll get to the whole Lukaku topics as well. But we can't top the group tomorrow. Fantastic. But we lost the league the lead in the Premier League the other day. So how are you feeling these days?
The whole thing's buggered. It's rip it up, start again. It's a blip. Just crack on. Do you know what I mean? It's. We were top of the league for so long, but I mean, obviously, to be honest, I actually don't think we deserve to be top of the league for the last probably 2-3 weeks or so. I think we've had some really bad performances, but got wins and results and different things. But look, it's again, we tend to have this tough time throughout normally November, December kind of time every single league season. I don't know why it is, who knows, but if we can navigate through it, then we'll be pretty much fine. But I just wouldn't overreact too much. I think that would be the only thing I would say.
That is fair. We are, of course, also joined by Mr. CFC Pies. Pies, thank you for joining us as always, bro. How are you feeling? Obviously, we've had our own discussions plenty of times about, is the problem Lukaku? Is it the fitness? What is the situation? We've discussed it even on Twitter, like a little bit of a back and forth that we had. But how are you feeling now? Now that we're going into tomorrow's game, do you expect him to start? How are you feeling about the whole thing?
Well, I mean, I don't want to say I was right, but I kind of was right when I said after the West Ham game when everyone was slandering him. I said, to me personally, he still didn't look fit because I know he doesn't press loads anyway, but he literally did not move, and I was like, "There's no way this guy's fit." And then what happened? Tuchel come out a day later and said, "Actually, it was my fault. Shouldn't have brought him on." And the whole slander session that was going on online wasn't really warranted in the end. So, yeah, I don't think he'll start tomorrow personally. I think he's more aiming for the Leeds game. I think tomorrow there'll be a load of changes. He could start and then come off since we've got 5 subs. But personally, I think... Actually, we'll get onto the lineup. But I think more towards Leeds at the weekend. I mean, Tuchel even said today he's more worried about the Leeds game than tomorrow night. So, yeah, I said earlier in one of my replies that, to be honest, if I could spin the wheel 1,000 times and try and predict tomorrow's lineup, I'd find it very, very hard because there's a lot of things we could do with rotations. And it's also quite hard as well because at the same time, there's things we could do and change in terms of position. But in certain positions, we also don't have enough options. So people are going to have to be moved about, in my opinion. So we'll see what happens. But it's not looking good in midfield. I'll tell you that. It's really not. especially with Kovacic obviously getting the Rona. So yeah, it's that's just really disappointing to me because him coming back yesterday, Tuchel saying, smile on his face, and then he just gets it. It's like, how bad is our luck like during this period? It's like they don't. It's like God's. I saw someone earlier say God's definitely not a Chelsea fan. So yeah, we'll see what happens.
Yeah, exactly. We will get to the Lukaku stuff in just a second as well. But let me just quickly introduce Mr. Clutch. Thank you for coming as always, mate. Appreciate it as ever, of course. What about yourself? How are you feeling ahead of tomorrow? It's a weird game tomorrow because obviously we are already qualified. We still kind of want to top the group, obviously, ideally. But at the same time, we're kind of just more worried about all the injuries that we have and, obviously the quick turnaround. Yes, Wednesday night, even if it's the slightly earlier kickoff, but it's still Wednesday night. Then we fly back, get back to London in the early hours of Thursday. We play on Saturday again against Leeds. And we all know how, even if Leeds aren't that great, when you play against them and you want to beat them, you need to be at least very close to the intensity that they show. And that's going to be a tough game physically, for whoever is involved on Saturday then. So that quick turnaround is not ideal. So is tomorrow's game much in your mind, or is it all just, let's get back to winning ways in the Premier League? And how do you feel about it, Coach?
Thanks for having me again, Laurenz. I think tomorrow, I joked with you earlier that we should just send the academy, just send the under 18s at this point, because, we're playing so many games and it's not going to end anytime soon. The workload is still going to be there for the next month. So we're going to have to do something. Eventually we're going to have to dig into academy players probably. I don't think that's something that's going to end up not being something that happens at some point. But at the same time, what more damage can we get done if we don't take tomorrow as seriously as we should? I think at one point, this weekend is going to be a lot more important. And like you said, Leeds tends to have really intense games. They always run, and that's just how Bielsa does his work. And with all the injuries, especially in our midfield, which is where games are won, we're going to have to figure out something tomorrow just to satisfy until we get to Leeds. So, we'll talk more about the lineup. I'm worried about all these injuries, especially when we have a couple players who are injury prone already. So, at the end of the day, if we don't take it as seriously as we should, I'm not going to have a big problem with it tomorrow.
Fair dues. Fair dues. You know what? Before we get into all the Lukaku stuff, because I do, it's just a very interesting discussion. I've seen people say play him in a different position and play him that. I just get your thoughts on it as well. But let's quickly talk about the injuries. Obviously, we'll talk about who will play then later on because there's only two basically available anyway. But we're this is not a situation we're used to at Chelsea. We have every now and again, we have players that are just tend to have injuries every now and again. Diego Costa always loved a good hamstring injury every few weeks, but never kept him out for too long. It was always played a month, was out for a week, played a month or 6 weeks, was out for a week. We had, obviously Pulisic, Kante, we've got used to them being injured every now and again. But this season, we've just been, it's just not been good, has it? Reece has been out. Chile obviously picked up his knee injury. Jorginho, again, confusing by Thomas Tuchel on the weekend. It's hip pain. All of a sudden, it's back pain. So, we know he's in pain, but which pain is it? Is it all of them? Is it one of them? What is it? I have no idea. Kovacic obviously finally returns and 5 weeks for a hamstring is actually quite long. I know they usually say 2 to 6 weeks, but still, to be out for 5 weeks, and this is out for 5 weeks until he returns to training. That isn't even, him being ready to actually start again, because even if he didn't have the Rona now, by the time we could start again, would probably be Brentford in the League Cup, maybe the league game after that, until he's actually ready to start a game again. So obviously we have Lukaku. Timo Werner was injured. Kai Havertz had a couple of small injuries. It's just not Trevor Chalobah just picked up an injury. It's just not been ideal. Let me go with you first, Ian. Do you think it's just, every club's due a season of a bit of bad luck? Or is it not actually as bad as it seems to us? We're just so used to never having injuries? Or it's just weird, isn't it? We've never really been in a situation where we've had so many injuries for so long. So many different injuries as well. We had a month ago, we had 5 injured. And again, we have 5 players out. What's going on?
It's bad. It's bad. We had a season, I want to say it was 2008, I think it was. We missed John Terry for a large chunk of it. I think Essien played at the back. Correct me if I'm wrong in that. It might be the wrong year. But you know, these things have happened before. It's just a real show. It's a way of showing strength and character to get through these kind of periods and these games and whatever. And we are missing, you know, it just happens to be. I mean, we've missed, you know, 5 or 6 players before, whatever. It does just happen to be that 3 of them are, well, 3 of them were the 3 people that would be starting in centre midfield, which is obviously a little bit of a nightmare. The fact that we haven't necessarily got the squad depth at somewhere like wing back, for argument's sake, of course, because we're now looking at Alonso playing. I think as much as we all like him, I think we all accept that he's not Chilwell or anywhere even close to Chilwell. I think it'd be quite tough for Chelsea to kind of navigate through this. But again, if we can, it's a real opportunity to show character, to get through this. And I mean, ideally pick up 3 points tomorrow, to guarantee that we top the group. As I literally just looked through it, and you really want to top the group. You don't want to come second because there's only 4 teams who can play, and 3 of them are really quite good. But yeah, it's a bit of a tough one, but it's a challenge as well. And I think again, last season we were Champions League. We definitely, on paper, squad wise, didn't necessarily deserve to win it right from the word go. But we had really tough draws against Atletico Madrid and Porto and Real Madrid and Man City, and it was a challenge, and the players stepped up to it, as did Thomas Tuchel and others. So, of course, it's bad. We all know it's a shite situation to be in, but it's a real opportunity for Chelsea to try and, you know, put out a really formidable case that we are a team to be reckoned with in the Champions League. Moving forward, of course, into Christmas in the league, it'll be a little bit different, but as Clutch said, you know, at some point you're going to have to play youngsters. At some point you're going to have to really dig deep, especially with the squad, with the youngsters that we've got as well. You're going to have to at some point. Tomorrow could be a good opportunity to do it, but it is a tough one. It really is a tough one. And I think also as well, I mean, this is going to be a hell of a long season for us. Really, really long season for us. Club World Cups and various different things, and people want to compete on all 3 fronts. I mean, I'm looking at that Brentford game in the League Cup. As much as I'd love to beat Brentford, and Brentford would get probably a real big buzz off of going out, beating us and knocking us out of that competition. At some point, some game has got to give. I don't think it's tomorrow, but I think at some point you do have to go to that and accept defeat, because this is going to be tough. But again, you can start to really mount a title challenge or a challenge to retain the Champions League or whatever. You can do it at some point. We got blessed with the FA Cup draw, which will be a nice little one, but that's the other side of an already really, really busy Christmas period. So hopefully there can be a couple of players that get rested in that one, but you still got to get through it. And again, character, big personalities in this dressing room, people that really want it. It's a challenge, but it's one that I think that we can come out the other side of and hold our heads up high. Maybe not be perfect position, but hold our heads up high with it.
No, exactly. The whole Brentford thing is just a tough one, because now that we are here, quarterfinals, right? You're like, well, we're basically just 2 games away from winning the whole thing. Or do we do 2-legged?
No, it's 2 legs again. Yeah, 2 legs again.
Okay. Well, still 3 games away from winning a title, you know, even if it's not the biggest title. A title's a title. But you think back to when we played our first round, we could have just played the under-17s then and saved ourselves some games now. It's one of those. But then you win them, and then we won all of them with penalties as well. It's like, great, we won, but at the same time, look at all these games. Bloody hell, imagine we had a week off next week. Imagine how well that would do in the squad. It's a tough one. But Pice, let me get to you. What do you feel about all the injuries at the moment? Like, is it a concern? Is it something that's like, oh, are we doing something drastically wrong in training? Obviously, not Chile and Kante. There was just accidents, like Tuchel called it today. Just like, you know, bad things happen. It can happen at any time. But we have had, and the same goes obviously for Lukaku, but we have had some muscle injuries. Timo Werner is the opposite of, you know, susceptible usually to muscle injuries. He had a muscle injury. I think that Kova didn't have many muscle injuries so far in his time at Chelsea, at least. Jorginho is the guy that's never injured. All of a sudden, he has pains here, pains there, pains everywhere. Do you know what I mean? And then a 22-year-old in Trevor Chalobah, not exactly the guy you'd expect, you know, to be picking up a hamstring injury as well. Is it something that's just overplayed, or is it a case of, you know, maybe training? Or I'm not even trying to say it at all to blame Thomas Tuchel. If anything, I want us to agree that it's nothing to do with Tuchel. But it's annoying, isn't it? Like, too many bloody injuries, man.
Yeah, I mean, on Jorginho, exactly what you just said there is a case of overuse and overload. Tuchel already said that. Tuchel said that he's had to overuse him because of the injuries, and now Jorginho is really tired. He said he knows this, but at the same time, like, I agree with him. I get a feeling of like, what do you want him to do? You know, he's tried Saul in midfield. You know, you ain't going to do that against Leeds. We'd get absolutely eaten alive. They're the best pressing side in the league. You know what I mean? So, Jorginho probably won't touch the pitch tomorrow night. I don't think. I think he'll save him for Leeds. But
No. You already. Joker said he's out.
oh yeah, out. Well, that's even better then. That's great. So yeah, I mean, in terms of
As long as he's back fit for
ground,
Leeds, that's good. Yeah.
yeah. As far as training ground stuff, I mean, we're not at Cobham, like we don't have the inside details, so I don't know. And what we do know from Tuchel is he's very, very honest. So he's admitted so many things that he's done wrong in his time here that other managers wouldn't, just little bits and bobs. So I'm sure he would probably say something or hint that maybe the training's a bit too hard and he needs to change it. Like, he's probably one of the most honest Chelsea managers I've actually had. Like, it's crazy how honest he is. He doesn't blame the players, he blames himself, actually. So I think that's kind of a technique he's using as opposed to some of his old clubs. So that's good, and hopefully that lasts. But yeah, it's definitely a concern. It's a worry. I mean, in midfield, it's just horrible right now. I was getting so excited for Kovacic to come back. Now he's got, the Rona. So great. Yeah, brilliant. Great. Just what we need, right? It's fantastic.
Exactly what we need. I will also say this, because you've seen people like, oh, could it be something in training? We don't even train. We play every 3 days. We don't even have proper training. All we do is recovery and preparing for the next opponent. We don't even train properly anyway.
Yeah, as well. Tuchel said on Kante, because I think one of the journalists tried to blame it on him a little bit. He kind of said the journalist's question was like, do you think you're doing something wrong and maybe rushing him back? And Tuchel was like, no, absolutely not. We build him up every single time perfectly. And his last injury was an accident. It happens on the pitch. So I think it's just a case of being really unlucky at the moment. And what period does it fall in? The period that we always suck at every single season. So it just goes great, don't it?
Although we say that, I mean, last year was December, and Sarri was December as well, I think. But before that, it was always November where we were really bad.
It's always towards Christmas. We have like a winter meltdown. There's a meme going around at the moment on Twitter. It's quite funny. It's just like with the whole Jamie Carragher and who was he arguing with the other day?
Roy Keane.
Yeah, and then the other guy getting in the middle. It's funny, but yeah,
it's a good meme to be fair. It's a good meme. Clutch, you obviously, because of the injuries, you said just bring the youngsters. The problem is, or for me, the problem is, first of all, the youngsters at the moment aren't quite as good as they were 3 years ago. Number one. Number two, like Harvey Vale, sure, and then a few of the that we have hopping around in under 23s, but in midfield where we have the most serious injury problems, I don't even know who the best midfielder to just chuck in there would be right now from the youth. Like, that's kind of half my problem when you say, I'll just bring the under 18s. I'm like, yeah, but who there would I want if I still want to top the group? Because the fair point that Ian makes, which is, last year we topped the group when we still got Atletico, sure. But the likelihood of getting a really tough opponent when you come second as an English side, because all the other English sides are top in that group, takes 3 opponents out already that we can't be drawn against. And then you have obviously whoever's in our group that theoretically would be Juve. And then you only have like 2 or 3 groups left. And if they're good teams, then you're screwed.
Do you want to know who the teams are we could play if we came second?
Go on.
So if we came second, as it currently stands, we could play Lille, Bayern Munich, Real Madrid, or Ajax.
Although now when you say it like that, Bayern Munich, but other than that, I think we'll beat Madrid again, to be honest. I think they'll shit themselves. And I mean, Ajax are in great form, to be honest, but it's bloody.
Ajax are a great side.
I think
they are a great side, but if it's Haller scoring all the goals, we saw what he did against other Premier League teams and when he was in the Premier League. So I'm not sure how worried I am about those guys. But Lille is a tough one because Lille go under the radar. Like, I know they're obviously miles off PSG in the league this season, but they won the league last year, and they're not an easy team to play against. Just remember how we struggled against Rennes last year. I know it was Frank and we weren't as good as we are now, but still, that was not an easy game. Sure, the home game with the 2 penalties different, but the away game was not easy. You look like you were going to say something there, Ian.
Oh no, I was just going to say I'm looking at their game for tomorrow. Lille play Wolfsburg, who are bottom of that group, but it's actually a group where 3 teams in it can still win it.
Yeah.
Sevilla 6, Salzburg 7, and then Lille are only on 8 points.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, obviously, if we drew whoever wins that group, good. You know, we expect it to win regardless of who it is. But it's a tough one. What did you say? Oh, Adam. I was like, well, who's Adam? Anyway, Clutch. So what do you reckon in terms of midfield? Is it just going to have to be Saul and Ruben, or is there any midfielders you can think of, like, throw him in? From the youth, I mean?
From the youth? No. I mean, later I have an idea that it's not going to be a popular idea, I know that, but it's probably one of the better things we can do.
Please tell me it's Lewis Baker.
No, it's not Lewis Baker.
I'd love to see him play.
I think he's going to say Barkley, but we'll see.
I'm not going to say Barkley.
But
unfortunately...
Barkley's not that bad, to be honest.
Yeah.
The only thing I'd say about that midfield, whoever the options, we'll obviously go into it a little bit later, but whatever option you've got from the first team players, it's the same thing as when you played Saul Niguez and Loftus-Cheek together. They both want to go forward. You do need someone who's just going to sit, doesn't want to do anything else, just sit. Which is what I was saying about Baker, because you know
has to be Ruben. Ruben's going to have to sit tomorrow.
I don't think he will. That's the problem.
He's got to play on the weekend, though. You know what I mean? As well, like it's one of those.
Well, that's why I would have him sit.
We talk about all the other players being overplayed. Bloody hell, Ruben's played like 5 games in a row.
Ruben's played loads. Like no one's even talking about it. He's played so much, but I don't know, man. Especially with Ruben's injury record. Like I know he's kind of staying free right now, but trust me, that's the next one up. Ruben Loftus-Cheek's picked up an injury. I'll tell you that now. That's the next one. No luck. He might
he's got problems. Yeah,
he'll pick up a muscle injury.
I'm touching wood here, so you're not jinxing things, Pies.
No, but it's inevitable, surely, with the amount he's playing and his record.
It probably is, to be honest. Maybe it is. Maybe that's why he's been a bit less willing to go on like these charging runs just to like save his
I can't believe Silva's not picked up an injury yet. I'm stunned.
Oh, how the hell we've avoided that one?
The guy's an absolute he's not human, Silva. I swear he's not.
He really isn't. I mean, Sharma, sorry, I looked at your first name. I was like, I'm just going to butcher it. So I'm going to call you Sharma, bro. I'm saying Charlie Webster. Not an expert on Charlie Webster, I can't lie, but he's a shout, I guess. At least to put him on the bench and potentially bring him on, depending on how the game goes. But why not? But I do want to, before we get into more about tomorrow's game, I do want to talk about this Lukaku situation. I do want to react to what Pai said, and I replied this to your tweet as well. The whole thing of Thomas Tuchel saying he was clearly not ready for 45 minutes. I will let that whole idea go if he played well for 20 minutes. But he was awful for the whole 45. So then where does the whole he wasn't ready for 45? That's well and good, fair enough. If he then tailed off for the last 10, 15 because he wasn't fit enough anymore, fair. But he didn't play well for the first 10, 15, 20, 25 either. So obviously you can make the argument, yeah, but maybe he knew he's not ready for 45, so he took it easy so he can actually go the whole 45. That is a fair enough argument to make. I get it. But still, my problem with it is we play Lukaku, and no matter, we even had Havertz in the team for the first half, and everything was working all right. We bring Lukaku on, and all of a sudden it looks like we have Giroud again. But I'm not saying this is all Lukaku's fault, not by any means. But I just don't understand why Havertz is able to play in that same role, because Havertz doesn't play false 9. Havertz for us just plays the number 9. He is able to make runs, go left, go right, come deep, come there, go there. Lukaku, he just stands there.
I mean, Laurenz, can I just say something?
The only option Lukaku has is to lay it off. And not just because of Lukaku, but that's all the balls he's fed. I'm like, why are we feeding Lukaku completely different types of balls that we're feeding Havertz? It's all just, I don't understand.
Laurenz, can I say something real quick?
Yeah, of course, in just a second. But the big problem for me is, this problem doesn't just exist since he's back from injury. We had the identical problem before he got injured, except the game he actually got injured in. There he got better. He moved differently all of a sudden. But the 3-4 games before that, we had the identical problems like we had with him yesterday. Against West Ham. That's why I'm not sure how much of it is fitness, because he wasn't injured before then. So what was the reasoning before? Because now, yeah, we can say he's not fit. But that's a reason now. But why do we have the same problem before his injury then? Pies, obviously react to it if you want, and then I'll go to Craig, because obviously with Pies and Clutch, we've discussed the whole Lukaku thing plenty of times. Go on.
The one thing I wanted to say was, someone posted a screenshot when Lukaku first joined us, and reading back on Tuchel's quotes, the way we say about Giroud, he actually mentioned that we lost Giroud, who played a crucial role, and he was the kind of profile that we needed, and he likes to play with his back to goal, likes to hold up balls, create space. And like he was saying, this is the kind of profile we don't have and we're looking for. So for me, it's all about instructions, personally. For me, personally. Because I feel like he's told him to be this hold-up striker. And yes, he can do it. But that's not how you're going to get the best out of him. And just from those quotes, I'm like, it must be instructions. Because I've seen Lukaku play so many different ways. Like, the article I posted as well, like, Euro Expert did like a little write-up for me and was comparing some stuff. And you just see the heat maps, the difference. Lukaku for Inter was always coming off the right-hand side and drifting in. For us, he's bang centre in the middle. Like, it's so interesting, like, looking at the differences. Where on the right-hand side, it's not really like a right wing, but it's almost like how we play, like an inside forward, right? Where you can get one-on-one situations. And because he's left-footed, he always used to cut in and link up with Lautaro. But, like, so I was suggesting maybe, like, I would like to see this kind of like a play Havertz up top and use Lukaku kind of on the right forward position to see if they can link up. Because last time we saw two players link up was Werner and Lukaku. They didn't have any clue what to do. They were both going different positions. But that was two strikers specifically. They were too isolated. I'd like to see the formation we play now with Lukaku sort of drifting in from the right-hand side where he can actually get 1v1 and not constantly have the ball back to goal. Like, that's personally my takeaway from like this whole week. I would like to see that, but yeah, I just think, like you said, I mean, I even spoke to like one of the Man U fans on Twitter, and I was just having a discussion with him. I was saying, you know, this is the problem we have at Lukaku at the moment, and he said, yeah, you're just using him the way we used him, just back to goal striker, isolated. You know, he'll get chances, he'll score goals, but he's not going to win you much if you just isolate him like that. He'll score goals against the lower sides from cutbacks into the box, but you really need to get the best out of him, actually get him on the ball, because he has improved so much technically at Inter specifically. So it's like we're not seeing anything from him at the moment because it's just all a mess. It just seems like he's not really there, and it's because we don't feed balls into him. That's why, as well, I wanted Kovacic to come back as well, because him and Mount really are the only ones so far where I've seen they put balls into him fast. So if you're going to play back to goal, you need everything snappy. Everything just seems so slow with him in the side at the moment. The slow build up, like it's all a mess. And I'm just hoping things can, click. And if we are going to play him as like a lone striker and not play him off the right or try to up front, we got to make things work with quick balls. He thrives on anticipation and quick movement and quick passing. Like, we're so slow at the moment. It's just frustrating.
You definitely make some good points. Now, personally, I love your expert. Alex knows this. Big fan of his. The whole thing, I'm like, yeah, obviously, if you compare the heat maps, when for us he's playing a single 9, and for them he was playing in the front 2, obviously the heat maps are going to be different. But let's not pretend that if he just played in our right position, that all of a sudden he would have space, because he wouldn't. Why he had space at Inter is because Inter had Kante and just counter-attacked everybody. So, yeah, of course, against Inter, he can then use all of it. For Inter, he can use all of his pace half off the right and then just come on his left foot. But because we run against low blocks 9 times out of 10 when whoever we play, doesn't matter if it's Zenit or Premier League. Just 1 second. Because I'm not sure, like, he can cut in of his left. Yeah, he's not awful. Not awful is the wrong way. He's good technically, but he's not exactly going to be Hazard or Pulisic or Kalamazoo all of a sudden taking people on one-on-one, just dribbling past them and, curling a top corner from 25 yards. He's not going to do that. He had one time against West Ham the other day when he tried it, and he stood in front of the guy and looked like he had no idea what to do. Like, he was one-on-one with the guy, and he was just like waiting for someone to run behind him. He didn't ever look like he was trying to shoot now or trying to go past the guy. And that's what I tweeted the other day, and I'll let you go in a second, Craig. I tweeted, I really love Lukaku. Like, I have done in the, back when we first had him, the whole, it's my dream to play it. Amazing. And I'm not saying this is all because it's the £100 million price tag. That's not necessarily it. But we can all agree, probably, that Lukaku on pure ability is probably our best attacker. At least that's what we thought when we signed him. We were getting our new best attacker. Whoever your best attacker is, whoever our best attacker has been at this football club, has been at times able to just do things out of nothing. But at the moment with Lukaku, everybody's telling me, yeah, of course, we're not creating anything for him, so he can't score. Are you telling me Hazard never scored without ever anyone creating anything for him? Are you telling me Diego Costa never created anything for himself? Didier Drogba never created anything for themselves? I'm not saying Lukaku has to be that right now, because now he's come back from an injury. So now that's totally fair. But at some point, £100 million striker, we all agreed on that in the summer, one of the 5 best strikers in the world, needs to be able to, at sometimes, not every game 5 times, of course not, but every now and again, I need him to be able to bulldoze through 2 defenders and somehow just make a goal, somehow just score a screamer from 20 yards. Like, there needs to be, we can't just sit here and say, well, if we don't give him the plate on the ball on a plate in the 6-yard box, he can't score. Well, if that was the case, we might as well have never signed him, because Giroud and Tammy Abraham can score from the 6-yard box. I know Timo can't, but Giroud and Tammy can. Like, if that's all we need, if that's all the problem we had, then we didn't need any striker, whether it's Haaland or Lukaku or Kane, or it doesn't matter. But we need a striker that sometimes can get us a goal. And I firmly believe that Lukaku can be that guy. I really do believe that. But I do, and I completely agree with what Pai said there. It really worries me that Tuchel speaks about Lukaku that way. I don't want him to be used like Giroud at all, because I didn't like us when we started Giroud. I never wanted us to start Giroud. And yes, he did. He did do that 100%. And that's why after Villa, no one complained. Duh. Of course. But Villa is a long time ago, bro. Villa was was it September? Went out in December, mate. I know he was injured, obviously, for a while in between that, but still, even after Villa, there was the Zenit, he scored 1 header, but that was the only chance he essentially had all game. And the last time he had a big chance when he played was against Juve, and he fluffed it. And that's why we sit here today and have to win tomorrow. But sorry, I lost my own train of thought there. What I'm trying to say is, we need name other than Sevilla last year, and that wasn't even Tuchel, that was Frank. Name me one game that we were great in that Giroud started. So, conclusion, we weren't great when we used a striker like Giroud. So why are we using Lukaku like Giroud? Because that's not how we were great. We were great when Havertz had good games and was fluid, and the whole front three were moving about and runs here and runs there. But we were lacking someone clinical. We signed Lukaku. Now we have someone clinical. But now we're all of a sudden with him, not capable of creating chances. So we need to figure this out. And I don't hate Pice's idea about it at all with this trying him on the right. Maybe it's something worth trying, because we need to try something at least, because it can't keep going on like it is right now. That's for sure. But I just worry that, to be honest, first of all, that our inside forwards, inside 10s, whatever you want to call them, they are so important to our press. And you just said it yourself. Lukaku can't press like that. He's too big. He's not that guy. He's never going to be that guy. And that's no criticism of him either. It's just, if you're that big, you can't just press all game. That's just never going to be you, right? It's just, is it? But we need that position to be pressing, because if that position doesn't press, our right wing backs' forward ability is so drastically limited, because then they need to do so much extra defensive work, and our right centre mid needs to do so much extra pressing work because Lukaku won't do it. So that's why I feel like the only position he can play is in the middle, but we need to figure out how to feed him, because he makes small runs. He does, but no one finds him for them. But then he still keeps making them. I'm like, surely after 20 minutes, you realize you keep making the same run. No one passes it to you. Maybe try a different run then. Don't just make the same run 15 times. And I said the same thing about Werner, because last year when I was harsh on Werner, people were telling me, but he's making all these runs. I'm like, great. But if no one's finding those runs, the runs are to create space. But Lukaku's runs don't even create space because they're too short. He comes from further back, Timo, when he makes runs. Lukaku starts on the offside line and runs 5 yards, hopes for the ball, realizes it's not coming and stops. Fine, nothing wrong with that. It's a decent run if you get the ball. But if no one passes the ball, they are pointless runs. They don't create space for anyone. They don't do much. So, and again, I said this, I'm not sure if it's a complete third, but it's certainly 3 parties have things to improve. The teammates have things to improve. Don't just give Lukaku balls that he can lay off. Let him actually give him a ball that he can do something with. Also, Tuchel, don't just use him like Giroud, please, but also Lukaku. I mean, we've discussed this previously, Pies, after said Juve game that I touched on earlier when we lost, obviously, away. He needs to do a bit more. Now I let him off a bit more for that because he's not fully fit, sure. But still, we need to figure something out, don't we? And sorry, I went on a bit of a monologue there. Ian, What are your thoughts on the whole thing? Again, also, if you want to touch on what Pi said in terms of using him in that right area and having kind of middle, would that be something you'd like to see played, or what do you reckon?
I don't think it is, but again, as you say, again, try anything at the moment, depending on what it is. But let's be honest with ourselves. We're not fast. Everything we do is slow at the moment. And you're saying about playing against low blocks, continuously playing against low blocks, whether it be in Europe or in the Premier League. We played against, it was only because I was doing a bit of research actually earlier, the Burnley game where we obviously, Kai Havertz got the ball in and he just kind of flicked it on. It was a nice goal, blah, 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 blah. Burnley, notoriously low block team. We wanted to come and just defend, and they end up nicking a point off of us. That goal that we scored that game, we did absolutely nothing for the rest of the game, but we moved the ball quickly. We moved the ball quickly for that one goal. If you look at when we beat Malmo the other week in the Champions League, Hudson-Odoi's ball straight across the box, Hakim Ziyech back post, tucking it in. Quick. And the problem that you've got with this, with how we play in midfield, it is we slow the ball down, and all it does is allow teams to just get more and more men behind the ball. And it does irritate me at times where people go, "Oh, Chelsea dominating possession and with this and with that, blah 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 blah." We're one-dimensional. That's the way of saying it. It is very much one-dimensional. And you're saying there about, you know, Lukaku's got to be able to make something out of nothing, which I do agree. I think if you're paying 100 million, you need to get that odd little bit moment of magic kind of thing. And I completely understand it. However, you aren't necessarily going to get that all the time with Lukaku. It's maybe a little bit easier coming in off the wing, as you do maybe have a little bit more space because people are so flooding the box and whatever. But you still have to move the ball quicker. You look at every way that Belgium play, you look at the way that Inter play, they move the ball quickly. They play to Lukaku's strengths. Now, Lukaku is going to drag people left, right, and centre if he builds up the confidence. And that's what we need to do. You have to play a way. You have to play a way that basically complements him. And Chelsea aren't doing that at the moment because the midfield problem is a real problem. But you look at when we had Chilwell and Reece James bombing forward, causing problems. Teams still parked the bus against us. They still put every man behind the ball, and we broke through eventually. But someone like Lukaku should be able to solve that problem by scoring the tap-ins 5 yards, big physical presence, knocking the odd one in with his head. That's fine. But that's one way of playing. You have to be able to play different ways. And again, if someone like Newcastle, if you broke on them so quickly with Lukaku, dragging people around that did not want to be dragged anywhere else other than where they were standing, that's where you're going to start getting the best out of Lukaku. It's where you're going to start getting the best out of Mount, Havertz, Werner, various different people. But you just cannot afford to be one-dimensional. And that's the one thing I would say about Lukaku is he is a fantastic player. He hasn't only got one way of playing. He has got different ways of playing. Again, I agree. If you wanted to really, really play him the same way that Giroud and Tammy were used, with his back to goal, why did you sell Tammy? You know, what Giroud, fine, you can let him go, but why did you sell Tammy? If you wanted Lukaku to purely score tap-ins and headers, you could have kept Tammy. But you wanted something different. You wanted something special. Play to it. Actually play to it. And you just, for me, it just seems like we're taking a step back and back and back and back and back. But also the other thing as well is there's a comment just down there. The midfield too don't shoot. This was talking about them being slow, but the midfield too don't shoot, regardless of who it is. Kovacic might pop in every now and again, and it was really good the other week to see Kante pop one from distance and score. But teams are allowing people like N'Golo Kante and Jorginho, and not necessarily Kovacic if he's been out, but Loftus-Cheek and whatever, to keep the ball outside the box and just get themselves defensively set, because they know that if the ball comes into the box, aiming for someone like a Lukaku or a Havertz, and obviously in recent weeks, that they're going to be able to deal with it because they've got themselves defensively set. Got to cause other teams problems. You've got to do it quickly. And the more time that teams have to think about this kind of shit, they do it. You forget we play every 3 days. These teams play once a week. You know, they're ready for us. When every time they play against us, they are ready for us. They've got loads of film. They've got loads of stuff to analyze. Teams, those lower league teams anyway, or lower in the league teams, are ready for us constantly, which is why we struggled against Watford, because they just pressed because they knew that we didn't want the ball, and they were right. You look at Burnley, they had their game plan absolutely spot on. West Ham, again, they were ready for it. They obviously have Europa League and different commitments and whatever, but we all played midweek. They had the exact same amount of time as we did. They prepared better than we did. I don't know what the kind of excuse is, and part of it has to come down to Thomas Tuchel, I agree. Part of it does have to come down to Lukaku, but I think part of it's got to come down to the skill set of some of the players that we've got, because it's not saying that they're bad players, but if it's just one-dimensional, why are we expecting anything different? You know, insanity. Albert Einstein, I'm pretty sure said something along the lines of insanity is doing something thousands of times and expecting different results. That's all Chelsea are doing. That's all we're doing is playing the exact same way and thinking something's going to change, and it's not. You've got to change it up somehow. I still think it's by keeping Lukaku down the middle. I just think it's the tempo that needs to be raised, and it's a little bit tough at the moment because of the amount of fixtures that we've got and the amount of injuries we've got. But just stick with it. If you believe in it, something truly, if you really do believe in it, and Thomas Tuchel purely believes in it, which I think he should, because again, it won us the Champions League last year, stick to it. We were top of the Premier League for weeks and didn't really bat an eyelid about it. Everyone said we deserved to be there. But stick with that. Just change small little elements. Don't change the whole thing. Don't blow it up and start again. Just change small little elements. And I think the intensity could be one of those big things.
I agree with a lot of things that you said there. My only small minor issue is our best football this season we played is when Lukaku wasn't fit. Aside from maybe the Arsenal.
It's not Lukaku's fault, though, is it?
No, that's not what I'm trying to say. But what I'm saying is when we have Lukaku, we don't know how to play as well as we actually overall can. And that's what we need to fix. And I do agree that sometimes we're a bit one-dimensional. For me, it's what United was one big example for that when we had Werner as the 9, because then we never played through the middle. We only attacked the wing. And the middle was basically just, their central centre-back had never had anything to do because we never got anywhere near it other than when we crossed the ball in. And that was the only thing we ever did. I do think in general, we do try to vary around a little bit, but I do see what you mean in terms of the rough idea is still always the same. But isn't City's rough idea always the same and Liverpool's rough idea always the same? I would say it is. It's just that they have, in moments when the idea kind of, struggles a little bit, they have a Salah, they have a Bernardo Silva, they have don't even want to say Phil Foden, but Kevin De Bruyne, that has all of a sudden a moment of magic. And what we're struggling this season is we're, as a team, as a system, amazing. But when every now and again a game happens where an opponent finds a way to block your system a little bit, or you have a bad day, and then, you make an individual mistake like we did against United, like we did against West Ham a couple of times. And then you need someone to come up with a moment of magic. And at the moment, no one's coming up with these moments. Whenever we score a goal, it's individual moments, except Reece James and Ben Chilwell. But now, when Ben Chilwell is out, Reece James has more defensive work to do because Alonso isn't capable of doing it on the other side. So Reece can't be quite as aggressively offensive. So not only does Chile affect us on the left, Chile being out affect us on the left side, it also affects us on the right side. What I will give Lukaku has not actually been fit while we were playing with a top-level Reece James and top-level Ben Chilwell. Maybe if we had that, we can, annihilate everybody 7-0 and Lukaku scores 3 goals every game. Maybe. We haven't seen it yet. But the problem is we need to figure it out also while Chile is out, because if we want to win the league, we can't just sit here and wait. Oh, we have to wait until Chile's back fit. Until then, we're screwed. If we want to win the league, it doesn't work like that. So, Clutch, let me go to you. Any reaction to what Ian said, first and foremost, and then obviously also in terms of this inside right position? Would you like to see that tried at all?
No, I do not. Because, at that point, you're going to have 3 people up front, and it's going to be Havertz and Lukaku, and you're still going to need that dribbler in that side. And you're most likely going to have Mount in that front 3, right? That's who's going to final out that 3. Who's going to do that? That's kind of the point. I don't think it's. I agree with Craig for the most part. I don't think it's only just Lukaku. Lukaku needs other people to help out, and right now they're not doing it. Who else is going to finish a chance off? Who else is going to take pressure off of him? Who else is going to come into that side and do something? Mount's scoring worldy goals. That's what he's doing. It's not necessarily coming from his own opportunities like he's creating for himself. It's not like a Callum or a Pulisic who's going to take on a defender, drag somebody away, have that one-on-one moment. Firmly, I believe one of those 2 people have to be in there with Lukaku, because you need somebody who, when they get on a one-on-one situation, they can beat them. because they're going to double Lukaku every time. That's what Lukaku's going to bring to you. And on the other side, you're going to need somebody who's going to either be able to play that ball into him, or you're going to need somebody who's going to make that moment of magic. So you have to have Callum or Pulisic, and this is inform those two when they're taking on somebody, and then they're going to have to be able to finish off those opportunities as well. That's just what our front three is going to have to do, and they're just not doing it. So it's going to start. The pressure's going to start looking at. I mean, look, Mount got on the score sheet, sure, and he had a really good game, but his game is not finishing off those opportunities. That's not what he does. That's not why he's in the side. You need somebody who's doing that, and we need to get somebody firing to that other. You're going to need more than one person who's going to be more reliable in scoring goals.
Can I just add a very quick point there? Sorry. You were saying about the front three, and I completely agree. The front three do have to come under some sort of pressure. The fullbacks or wing backs, obviously, they've got to take a little bit of the accountability as well to get in the game and whatever. But that's constantly the ball coming from wide areas. You know, again, if teams can get themselves set and ready to defend wide areas quite comfortably, especially some of the bigger teams in the league, Newcastle's, Burnley's, and whatever. What about people in midfield? You know, obviously it's a little bit difficult at the moment, but you know, someone like Jorginho, you know, a ball straight over the top. You know, David Luiz used to do great from the back. He used to just ping long balls over the top, and he used to work out for us. It was another place where a moment of magic. A moment of magic doesn't always have to be a goal. Moment of magic can be a long pass, a set piece delivery. It's small little things. You know, a little bit of a flick that just creates a massive amount of space, or dragging a run around or something like that. Midfielders and the rest of the team also do have to take some sort of accountability for it. But if the ball is constantly going wide and then coming in, why are we surprised that anything's different? And you were saying about, you know, Callum Hudson-Odoi and Pulisic and whatever, and I actually agree. I think you do need someone who is naturally on the left-hand side, and I would say that player would be Pulisic rather than Hudson-Odoi, because I feel Hudson-Odoi is bit of a better operator completely out wide. But I think you still need to have that real focus on central areas, because I think teams have been getting away with absolute murder against us, not being able to defend, you know, two midfielders who pretty much just don't shoot.
Yeah, and that's, I mean, if you look at like our best moments this year, it's coming from deeper, when Kovacic or Jorginho is progressively passing down the field, and they're getting it in behind, and they're stretching defenses. And I mean, imagine lockdown Pulisic with Lukaku right now. We would be scoring 5-6 a game, and it wouldn't even be close. We wouldn't even need to worry about anything. Mm-hmm. But we don't have anybody else in form, and with all these chopping and changing of players, these players aren't getting chemistry with like Lukaku. And the times we look the best is because we have players out there who already have chemistry because they've had it from last year. Mm. So I mean, I think it's not Lukaku's fault necessarily, but also at the same time, when you see him on the field, you don't see him move. You don't see, when Havertz is on the field, you see one of those two inside forwards. They come inside and he goes outside. They interchange their roles. Like, they're always operating in different areas. They don't do that with Lukaku. And that does come down to Tuchel, because he has to say, hey, you need to go out here. You need to be able to come in here. It's for me, that's where it's at.
The one thing as well, can I just
I'll let you react to what we all just said, Kaiser, just 1 second, because obviously I presume you have a few things to say about what we all said before we move on, because this has already gone longer than I expected. Anyway, what I also think the problem that we have with Lukaku is that everybody's so scared of Lukaku when he plays that they just always put 2 and 3 on him. But the team is also so like, well, Lukaku is so great, we need to give him the ball. But because the other players around him don't threaten the opponent enough, and just look at Mount's goal. Mount's goal, if they were not just worried about, to be fair, it wasn't the first half, right? So Lukaku wasn't on yet. But the defenders should never leave Mount in that space to even take that volley. That should never happen. Like, that's awful defending from West Ham in that situation. But the problem is, they're not worried about anybody else once Lukaku plays. They just worry about Lukaku, and we just give it to Lukaku anyway, and then we can't score to save our lives. While when we have like Pulisic, Havertz, and Mount, they're all like kind of similar level-ish, so they worry about all equally, and then because they're so fluid, they're all over the shop, the defenders, and they don't know what to do. But when they focus on Lukaku, and we focus on Lukaku, and then they take Lukaku out of the game, which with 2 or 3 men, no matter how good the player is, 2 or 3 defenders are going to take anyone out of the game. But the problem is we need to have other dangerous players that need to focus on them more, and then Lukaku has more space himself as well, which is kind of half the problem in itself, which also would allow him to be more dangerous without moving around like a crazy person. You know, he doesn't have to be Kante to be dangerous. He doesn't. You know, Kane doesn't move around like Kante. But to be fair, Kane this season isn't dangerous. But, you know, usually. But, Pice, react to what you want to say. Please do. Because, you know, I'm intrigued what you have to say.
I was just gonna say quickly on the Jorginho over the top thing, the balls over the top. I just wanted to make a quick example. Remember, I think actually he will do that, but that is actually more on Lukaku to make those runs and actually move. Because you remember, I know everyone slated him, right? And he wasn't good for Chelsea, but remember when we signed Higuain, right? I remember seeing this live at games. I remember seeing this on TV. His movement, even though he was slow, was insane. He was constantly moving. And you saw how many times Jorginho, like literally, before Jorginho even got the ball, Higuain, he knew it was going to Jorginho. He was making that run. Even though he was slow and he got this for that, he was making that run. And how many times did Jorginho put the ball over the top because he saw him run? Like, for me personally, that's more on Lukaku to actually make those movements. And at the moment, we're not seeing that. Like, I've defended Lukaku a lot and probably more than anyone. But I think I will give you that. Lukaku, he does need to move more and make some sort of runs because, like, even in deep block games, you can still, you know, drift out to the right a little bit or make a sudden movement. You know, there's different things you can do. At the moment, he is literally standing in the middle. Like, I remember the Juventus game, literally on Bonucci and Chiellini. Easy night to work for them. Both of them were just trying, both were double teaming. Move to the right a bit, move to the left a bit. And that's where I do kind of get your point, Laurenz, is when we have Havertz, he's constantly moving. You don't know where he's going. Like, you know, sometimes when he's on the ball, he's on the left-hand side, then he's on the right-hand side. And it's like, that's why teams get so confused. And that's why these formations have been working. So I do agree with you. Like, when Jorginho plays and when Lukaku's fully fit, I would like to see him anticipate, you know, Jorginho getting the ball and playing over the top, but we don't know if that's something they've spoke about. Like, it's on them to sort it out. You know, that with the players as well as Tuchel have to find ways of creating chances. It's not just Tuchel. The other thing as well I wanted to say was, I'm trying to think, when Lukaku came on, I'm pretty sure he was talking to. Actually, no, it wasn't Lukaku. It was Reece James and Ziyech. They were constantly talking because they were playing down the same side. And I was like, that's really good. They're communicating. I don't see enough of that from the players. It's, you know, like, just figure stuff out. I just hope that on the training pitch as well, stuff is trying to be figured out rather than just, you know, playing handball or whatever. Like, you know, like, work on tactical stuff. But I hope hope Lukaku's talking to players, because everything I heard about him as well, from, like, obviously reading stuff online and things like that, he is like one of those players who wants to constantly learn and develop and speak to the manager. He likes the tactical side. Like, you can read up about it if you don't believe me. Just search up, like, Lukaku tactical side or whatever. I don't know. Like, you can find articles where Lukaku specifically talks about how much he actually loves learning the game, learning how to be better. So, you know, that's why I said to you, surely it gets better, because realistically, what can go worse than right now? Like, it's so bad. It's so stale. Like we are at the bottom of the bottom in terms of playing with him. So, yeah. But anyway, I think well, I've said enough on Lukaku anyway over the last sort of week or so. I'm just it's crazy the amount that it's been discussed.
It is crazy, but I guess that's what happens when you sign a player for 100 million and it doesn't quite work at the moment. I will also say just quickly on Jorginho not playing those over the top balls, because there was a time 2 weeks ago when he played all of a sudden, like, well, not 2 weeks ago, but until 2 weeks ago, for about a month, he played more and more and more of those, whether they were high out wide to Reece and he can use those, or even over the top in the middle. But now when Thomas Tuchel sits here and tells us he has hip pain, well, maybe the guy struggles to actually play those long, accurate balls right now because the guy's just playing with pain. Back pain, hip pain wouldn't shock me, but because everybody else is injured, you just have to play him anyway. You know, so that's often something fans don't think about. If your hip hurts a little bit and maybe the swing to play a long ball is more painful than, you know, a short pass, you got to pick the short pass. It's just maybe a natural one, but obviously this is purely speculation. I don't know if that's why Jorginho played less over the top balls, but it could be. It could be. But Pi's made a good point. Let's move on from Romelu Lukaku. Let's talk about a couple of other things. Before we get into just the lineup, just two more things. Don't even need much of a reaction, just to inform the people. So Fabrizio Romano, I think you told us this off air, didn't you, Pies? I'm not repeating things. Has basically tweeted that even though Barcelona and other clubs are interested in Christensen, everybody's kind of expecting him to sign a new contract in the next few days/weeks, which is good. But the Independent has released an exclusive just shortly before we went live here that Real Madrid have a verbal agreement in place with Antonio Rüdiger's brother, who is his agent, which is not particularly good news because I think we all want Antonio Rüdiger to stay. I think we all agree that 200k is not too much. Just give them the money. But if they don't want to do it, hey, fair enough. What I rate him for, though, is, Rüdiger, even though he hasn't been great the last 2 games, at least he isn't like one to down tools if he's not getting the contract that he maybe wants. He's still going to give it his all until the end, even if he does leave. So, hey, football it's not a pony farm, as they say. So, sometimes you don't get everything that you hope for. But at least let's make things as good as we can until then. But, I can always keep my fingers crossed that something crazy happens in January or whatever, and all of a sudden he does sign a new contract. But let's move on to tomorrow's game a little bit more. Obviously, Zenit St. Petersburg, we are playing. Let me actually quickly check. Can they even still lose third place tomorrow, or are they guaranteed to come third?
Pretty sure it's a dead rubber game for them from what I was seeing.
Yeah, because they beat Malmo, so they're head-to-head, and Malmo
head-to-head
can
over
only
them.
level with them.
Yeah.
So they are guaranteed to be ahead of them. So, but also Zenit only have one more game after this game against us until their winter break starts. Obviously in Russia, a bit too cold to play all over like Christmas and stuff. So, they have one more game after this. So there's not really much point for them to rest players because they literally have one more game. So you will expect them to, play their best team. You will also expect them to try because, whenever these even though Zenit St. Petersburg, especially for Russia, is a huge club, not quite in terms of European giants, quite like Chelsea. So they will just try to beat us because, it's us kind of thing. So it won't be easy no matter who we play. And a lot of positions or a few positions are kind of set in stone who's going to play there. But a few others, like Pai said earlier, you could spin a wheel 1,000 times and you would still probably not get the exact lineup that we're going to see tomorrow. But let me just get this lineup screen up for you guys to look at so we can actually discuss who should be playing where. And in that moment, ladies and gentlemen, if you haven't already, please be sure to subscribe. We're on the road to 15,000 subscribers. Every new subscriber counts, so hit that big red subscribe button for me so you don't miss any future streams, including tomorrow's player rating and reaction live stream straight after the game, of course. And smash the like button for me as well. We have over 120 people watching, so make sure you smash the like button because there's definitely nowhere near enough. Just one click of a button, doesn't cost you any money, doesn't cost you any time. Lawrence Bry guy says, I read it's about minus 15 degrees there right now. Brilliant. The elements will be tough, a tough X factor in this game. They do mention the stadium has heat, still minus 15 degrees. Minus 15 degrees, very cold. Very, very cold. So let's hope it's not minus 15 degrees there tomorrow. But that's why when the initial draw happened, I was like, yeah, let's hope we don't have to play Zenit in winter. Well, it's the last group game. That's the worst thing it could have been. If we played them away in September, who cares? But playing all these Russian teams, or Ukrainian teams, when you play them in the November, December match days, it's not good. It's not good. But let me go with you first, Clutch. Does Mendy stay in goal or does Kepa get a game? Because I will say this. When a player, obviously goalkeepers are always different because there's only ever one starting goalkeeper. It's not like rotational like it is for most other positions on the pitch. When a player has a game as bad as Mendy did against West Ham, usually he has to be dropped. But for goalkeepers, that doesn't really work like that, usually. But do you think he should, let's not call it dropped. Do you think Kepa should get a game and maybe we give Mendy one out to maybe refocus? Or do you think it's important for Mendy actually to get straight back in it and refine his confidence?
I thought Tuchel said that Kepa was in contention to start, Pius. But
is? Yeah.
I do think this is a game for Kepa, to be fair. I think just give Mendy a little bit of rest, give him a little bit of time to recuperate, get over the mistakes. And save him. I mean, you don't want him to get injured in this kind of game. And I know a lot of people don't like Kepa and they don't rate Kepa, but I still think Kepa can do a job, especially in the system that we have. He looks much better under Tuchel than he did under Lampard when it seemed like he was afraid of mistakes that were going to come from our back line. Now is he still that same mistake-prone player? Yes, you're never going to completely cut it out, but he did drop it a little bit. So, I mean, personally, I would go with Kepa tomorrow, and then we'll go back with Mendy on Saturday.
Yeah, Pice just said in this private chat here that Tuchel confirmed Mendy won't be dropped. But do you mean that in general because of mistakes, or do you mean won't be even dropped for tomorrow? Because he was asked about Kepa even, wasn't he? And he said, could be type thing. Pice?
Go on.
Oh, he's back. Different connection. There you go. Did you hear what I just said and asked you, Pies, or not?
I don't know, bro. I've got a smart rainstorm right now. So I'm using 4G right now.
Okay. Appreciate it. But I said, you said here, TT confirmed Mendy won't be dropped. But is this in general which is obvious, or are we actually talking tomorrow and he won't play Kepa tomorrow? Did he say that?
I just assumed he would play tomorrow. I'm pretty sure it was like a general consensus, but I think he said like he needs confidence in the upcoming matches. So for me personally, I assume he would start tomorrow.
Mendy, that is.
Yeah.
Okay, it's a weird one because the way I took it from him, I thought maybe Kepa would play, but it's a tough one because I would, if Mendy had a good game against West Ham, I would definitely say play Kepa tomorrow. But because Mendy had his bad game, I feel like Mendy should stay in goal. Just give him a game to refine some confidence.
Yeah.
How do you see it, Ian? Would you go Mendy or would you go Kepa?
I'd go Mendy. If there's nothing wrong, don't fix it.
Fair.
Yeah.
I guess then, we have 3 Mendys over your Kepa clutch. I do apologize. But let's get to the back 3, which is going to be a very interesting one because we don't have anyone to rotate. The only thing we know is please don't play Thiago Silva. I mean, the guy's from Brazil. Don't make him play minus 15 degrees, the poor man. So I guess it's going to have to be Rüdiger and Christensen again and then just Aspie at right centre-back? Or does Aspie have to play right wing-back?
No.
I get to why I think he can play right centre-back. Go on.
No, I disagree with that. I think it will be Saar on the left centre back.
Oh,
I
Christ.
think Christensen.
Could be.
I think Christensen will play middle centre back, and I think. Wait, I did a lineup earlier. Let me try and find it. I can't remember who I put right centre back.
Probably Aspie, surely.
I think it was. Yeah, it was Aspie right centre back.
I mean, that would obviously be the extreme version of rotation, but at the same time, Rüdiger plays every game. Rüdiger plays every game for Germany as well. So,
Laurenz,
makes sense.
He said there will be loads of changes. Not some, loads.
Yeah, no, he did.
So,
yeah, exactly.
I don't think Rudiger starts. Loads means like 5, 6 to me.
Yeah. No. Like I said, I mean, Ian, you had a reaction there. You weren't particularly pleased with Saar, but even if you don't want to see it, could you see it?
I could, yeah. I could definitely see it. I suppose it depends on how much Thomas Tuchel wants to win the group, clearly. But I mean, we're all sitting there going, "Oh, we win the group, then it's actually not bad. If you don't come second, it's not that bad." But I don't know. I think it's a tough one. I have to be honest. I'm not a lover of Malang Sarr. There's a rumor supposedly that he's going to go off to Italy and he tries to push through a loan move to Inter Milan. I mean, I can understand why there's legs in that one, but I mean, yeah, I think if you're going to have to play one of Christensen or Rudiger, to mean that Thiago Silva then wouldn't play, I would play Christensen. So I would agree with this, but yeah. I think I'd stick with that as much as I probably don't like it.
Yeah, it's a tough one. What I find the weirdest thing about, by the way, Saar and this apparent loan move to Inter Milan. Inter Milan, aren't they top or close to top anyway? So they're having a decent season. Does he think after not playing he did barely play for Porto, half the time he didn't even make the bloody squad, never plays for us. Does he think he just goes on loan to Inter Milan in January and all of a sudden does play for them? How illogical is that? Surely he needs a loan move to a place where he actually gets game time. And surely he wouldn't there. But Clutch, do you agree on that back 3, even if you probably don't want to agree on it, but do you kind of feel like you have to agree on it?
Yeah, I do. I mean, I don't see Rüdiger playing, especially when he had a not-so-great game against West Ham. So I think give him some rest. I think he's one of those players that's also suffering from work overload. And especially when, I mean, the thing is, I would kind of want Rudiger there because, I mean, your wingback, whoever you put there, is going to need help. And I don't think Malang Sarr is going to be the guy to give it. So, personally, I would want to be Rudiger, but if I was thinking what Thomas Tuchel is going to do, it's probably going to be this.
Yeah, I probably agree, to be perfectly honest with you. I mean, the chat is heavily disagreeing with us, and they pretty much all think Kepa's going to play. Well, obviously, we're doing a little bit of a mix of predicted 11 and our 11. Like I said, my logic is just because Mendy had a bad game, just give him another game ASAP before we go back to a Premier League game and get him some confidence back. But I also see the logic in playing Kepa. But, I don't know. It's a tough one. At the end of the day, we can't control it anyway. Let's do the wingbacks. Because I would this would be like if only Jorginho wasn't injured, because I think this would be the perfect game to try Saul at left wing back and then give him a game that's a little bit less high intensity than Premier League, and then see how that goes, and then see if we can try that in the Premier League. Because I don't want to be seeing Alonso at left wing back. To be honest, I don't want to be seeing Alonso in the squad. To be perfectly honest, like not even on the bench. But because we have the injuries, there's no other choice but Alonso at left wing back, is there? All right, go on, Ian.
I have a weird feeling that we might see someone else that's not Alonso there, because he knows that Alonso is probably his best option. But he might use this as the game to experiment and give something else a go. I wouldn't be surprised to see someone like Pulisic or Hudson-Odoi or even Reece James playing left wing back. Wouldn't surprise me.
I'm expecting Reece to be rested, but
see, I would rest him as well. I agree. But I think that if there is a little bit of a banana skin there, especially with Saul playing a bloody left centre back as well, I think he might want to have a somewhat of an established head, and I think Reece James would more likely be it than Alonso. Which sounds nuts saying that, but yeah, there we are.
I see that. The fact that Reece didn't even make the squad against Watford, I'm pretty sure he won't start tomorrow, just because he clearly is overloading. To make sure. I see what you're saying. I mean, Pice, what do you think? Do you think it could be a rogue shout and there's something other than Alonso?
I personally went with Pulisic at left wing back and Hudson-Odoi at right wing back.
Yeah, I'd be fine with that. That sounds good.
Very, very.
I was going to go Callum on the right, but I wasn't sure if I would go both sides.
Yeah, no, I went kind of doubled up on the usual inside forwards at wing back. I mean, to be honest with you, like, if people disagree, I couldn't care, to be honest, because I don't know what the team's going to be tomorrow, so I don't have a fucking clue. But like, I'm just trying to be, I planned a team out earlier, and I thought, we can really get at them with these wing backs, and I think both of them have the responsibility to track back. Hudson-Odoi definitely does, and Pulisic, to be fair, came on at right wing back against Watford. Didn't actually look too bad there, so I think as long as they both track back, we actually might create a few chances. It's kind of the closest thing to like a Reece Chilwell dynamic that we could have with both of them, because they're both going to get chances. But balls are going to, fall to the edge of the box or just that wide. They're going to be able to cross it back in, put low balls in, both of them. Maybe shots will fall to them as well. So, yeah, I mean, you could also switch them and put, you could play them one right, one left.
I was just going to say, I think if he's going to do that, it's more likely the other way around.
Yeah, I do agree now, thinking based off, because Pulisic has played more on the right.
And Hudson-Odoi played left wing back against West Ham.
Yeah, I think
Pulisic
more likely that, actually. Yeah, I think it's more likely that, actually. But yeah, I mean, Alonso could play, but then I thought about Alonso and I thought, well, if he plays this game, is he going to then start against Leeds? Like,
mate, it doesn't matter.
Like,
Alonso, whether Alonso's tired or not, he's slow anyway. It doesn't make a difference.
And he's got like back pain at the moment, hasn't he, or hip pain or some shit like that? I don't know.
Again, can that make him worse?
Fuck's sake,
he could chop his right leg off and he would still be as good as he was before.
Oh, we don't have any like cheeky Alonso stands in the comments, and I've got to like us.
Sadiq, you here anywhere? I can't see it.
No, he's a troll. He's a troll.
Well, I think he might, because Alonso's so bad, he might be claiming it to troll, but he's not actually trolling. But Clutch, do you think that's something we could be seeing, those two wing backs, or do you think that's too outrageous? My only small counter argument to that would be, well, I agree, Pice. Why not? Just fucking go for it and just make sure we outscore them. But because of the two midfielders we have available, I fear that those two wing backs are way too offensive. Like, if we had Kante and Jorginho in the middle, sure, play those wing backs. Who cares? We'll be fine. But because we're going to have Saul and Ruben, let's be honest, and we're thinking bloody Malone Sarr at the back, I think we could concede about 15 goals if we do that.
I don't think Pulisic is going to be a wing back. I think he's a liability at wing back. I mean, defensively, he's just going to get run at. And for me, that's the main reason why I don't want Pulisic at a wing back position, is because he, one, doesn't have the engine to run up and down. And let's face it, that position has the most running out of anybody on the field. Like, if you're going to be the guy who's going to be running, that's why I'm okay with Callum doing it. Callum has the engine to run up and down the field for 70, 80 minutes. Pulisic doesn't. He can probably do it for maybe 45 minutes, and then after that, he's just going to be a useless cog in the wheel at that point. So, I mean, I think if you are going to do it, Callum will probably be on the right, and or if I don't think Reece will play. I think Callum will be on the right, and I think Alonso will probably end up starting because, I mean, it doesn't really make much difference. But, I mean, I'm also not... I don't think Saul's going to start in the midfield. Or I don't want Saul to start in the midfield. I would go with somebody different, but it'll probably end up being that.
Did you watch the press conference? Did you
Clutch,
get a chance to
can I
watch?
just
Good.
Clutch, did you watch the press conference today?
Yeah, I did.
Okay, and you still think Saul's not starting?
Oh, I think he is. I don't want him to. That was what I
okay.
said.
But Pies, what were you going to say? Sorry, you were going to ask me. Yeah, go on.
I was just going to say, thinking about it, I remember we do have 5 subs, right? So a cheeky
We do.
shout could be probably we start with a really strong team like Reece James, like Rudiger, get the game done, then you sub him off. He might just do that instead of this
you
weak
say that,
lineup
bro,
from the
but
start.
We played these lot at home and we only scraped the 1-0 win.
Yeah, I
So
know.
I'm not sure if that idea will go that well.
Bro, I was literally just about to say that as well. Like with the conditions and an away game, it's just gonna whatever team we play, in my opinion, it's gonna be a horrible, just vibes game. Like seriously,
Exactly.
it's gonna be
So
horrible.
don't start the best team because you're never going to take them off.
But like, if you're, I'm trying to think from Tuchel. Like, if you're a manager, you might think, I think we can get the game done here. Like, unlike last time, but who knows? I'm just trying to think of different perspective.
Yeah. Can I make one shout? And I don't even think that's what we should do or will do. But and I'm surprised that no one's ever mentioned it. Why don't we try Hakim Ziyech at left wing back? Because he's the only guy that can actually cross the ball. So he's so far, at least he can whip one in, unlike Alonso, number one. And he learned he's good at pressing. Sure, his touch is sometimes a bit dodgy, but still better than Saul and Alonso in terms of under pressure. I'm not saying he would be great there, but I feel like he might be better suited to do it than Reece James on the left, or Hudson-Odoi on the left, or Pulisic on the left. Do you know what I mean? Just because at least he's left-footed, man. Because I hate the idea of a right-footed left wing back. I think that's stupid.
I think the only thing with that is what I know from Ziyech and what I've seen from him, he does give a lot of stupid fouls away. And it's not all just about going forward. You still have to try back and defend. I just feel,
and he's also
like
really lazy.
He might like grab it. No, I know, but like if you're thinking of other options,
we're fucked whatever we play.
Yeah, like I think
that one straight.
I think Ziyech might grab a shirt, get a book.
Yeah. Oh yeah, is anyone on suspensions? Can anyone miss games? That'd be a good one.
Yeah, a bit early.
That'd be another thing to take into consideration.
I mean, Flyer says here Ziyech doesn't have the running power. I think Ziyech has more running power than Alonso and 7 people put together. So, but sure. Again, I don't think we should do it. I don't think it's something that we will see. I'm just saying, at least he can cross the ball with his left foot. And no one else other than Chilwell can. Well, maybe a Saul can, but no one showed me that yet because he's only played in midfield. From Ziyech, I know it at least. So, that's why I'm saying that. Sorry, Pies, I did have to mute you because you were so delayed to us that you were laughing about jokes we made like 3 seconds ago. So it got very confusing in my head. But I mean, hey, let's leave it at that for now. But, obviously it could be Alonso. But I think midfield, Saul, let me be, respectful. Saul Niguez, why not?
I thought you were going to put the accent on. I thought that's what you were going to do then.
Sorry?
I thought you were going to put the accent on it.
No, that's a bit too much. But, if anyone doesn't know, there is an accent over the U in his name. But obviously Ruben starts as much as, it's crazy that he has to start so many games. But at the same time, I love it. So, is this, and I'll go with you first, Ian, is this his last chance or is it never his last chance until we get over the injuries?
No, we have drawn Chesterfield of non-league in the FA Cup, but he has still got a chance, regardless of what anyone says.
Okay, no, but when I mean last chance is any chance of getting a game where he can play well enough that he can at least be a shout for us to consider, even when most people are fit.
No, see, I as a player, I like Saul Niguez, and he really has struggled, and I have a feeling he's going to struggle again. He has to play next to the right person. The only thing in this is that we're in Europe. It's not necessarily the speed of the Premier League. It's the speed of what you're going up against in a Russian side. There's no disrespect to them, but I mean, when they came to Stamford Bridge, they were absolute pony. They did actually deserve to get a draw out of the game, but that was more because they just counter-attacked quite well. But I do like him, and I do want him to have more chances, but I think again, I think the chances need to come in English football, not necessarily in a European game, and I just can't see it happening. But he'll play tomorrow. 100% he'll play tomorrow. But whether he deserves repeated chances coming forward, I don't really think so. But yeah, it's a shame because I really like him. I really do.
Yeah, I like him as well. I hope it works. Let's see how it goes tomorrow, I guess. But anybody else, Pice Clutch, want to add anything? Is this our last chance, or shall we just move on to the front three?
I'm going to make a shout. It's going to be
you
a
want
big
to
one.
start someone different. Sorry, I forgot again. Tell me.
Not Saul. And this is going to be a big shout. Mason Mount.
Yeah, like that.
Why
Somebody's
not,
going to, and if you start Lukaku, you're going to have somebody who's going to get that ball into Lukaku quickly. And he has that passing range that those other two don't have. And I do think he's got the engine to kind of like secure defensively, whatnot. But if this happens, Ruben's got to stay, and Mount's going to take up, and he's going to actually have that ability to shoot from distance too. He's going to be in that position where he wants to shoot. I think I don't think it's a long-term solution, but I think if you want to try him now in the pivot, this would be the perfect opportunity.
I think, very quickly, I actually think Mount playing midfield long term is going to be a really good option for Chelsea. I think it's going to be something that you need to explore many, many years down the line. But I think this could be a good opportunity to see him at a top level game playing that position. Very good point there by Clutch.
1 second.
Man City's down to Leipzig right now.
Are they? Fantastic.
What I will say, judging from the last time Saul and Ruben played together, that didn't work first half now, did it? Right? So, what did we do in the second half? Sure, we took Saul off. But what we did against Watford is we changed to a midfield three, which was, well, initially Chalobah at the base, but then Chalobah had to come off, so Ruben was at the base, and then Mount was, I guess, on this side. But, let's pretend Saul plays here now, because that's probably a bit easier for Saul anyway if you played an 8. And then you put Mount in a right spot, or Ziyech, because that's who did it against Watford, theoretically. Obviously, Ziyech is more offensive than Saul, but when the whole thing didn't work against Watford, we changed to midfield 3, and then had a 2 with one of them a bit more attacking than the other. Is this, I think, if I'm totally going off expected 11, I think we're going to do this. I think we're going to play a midfield 3 because Tuchel doesn't trust the midfield 2 if he doesn't have any of Jorginho, Kante, or Coba. I don't think after Watford he will do that again, to be honest.
Very good suggestion. I like it.
And whether you have Mount here then, or Ziyech, or even Mount instead of Saul, fair enough. But I think the way Tuchel spoke with how many rotations and players that need minutes, getting minutes, Saul will start, right? It's just a question, obviously, Mount fitness, Ziyech fitness. But Tice, obviously, you need to leave soon, I know. But is this something you could see a midfield 3 just because of what happened against Watford?
I don't think we'll line up by that, but I think we could change in game to kind of like be a bit less predictable. But yeah, my connection's trash, so sorry if I keep coming in and out. It's like I've got like a mad storm right now.
Fair dues, no issues. No issues at all. Clutch, what do you think? A midfield 3, something we could start with?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think Mount should be in the midfield because, I think that's where he plays his best. So, but at the same time, I also don't think Pulisic. I think if Pulisic does start, which I do think he will, I think it's going to be in an attacking position. So maybe if Saul is going to play, it might be the left wing back because he was asked about it at the end of last game if he would try that, and he said, "I don't know. Maybe we'll think about it."
It's true. If we're saying not Alonso, then maybe it will just be Saul here. And if we're going to play a midfield 3, we could theoretically, let me just switch it round. Because this is literally the midfield 3 we had against Watford in the second half. And we weren't great, but we were better than we were in the first half. So, and then obviously Mount a bit more helping Ruben out, and then Ziyech here.
Yeah, and then I would maybe, because I don't think it's going to be Lukaku and Havertz. I think it'll be one or the other. I don't know.
Or neither. I think neither.
Really?
Lord help me.
Agreed. I don't think either will play.
I just don't know about Havertz. If he's fit, he will start, but I don't know how fit he is, right? But
I don't think Havertz will start because he did pick up a knock, and you're not going to go out there and just run him instantly. So I think the only two options, it's probably going to be Lukaku or Werner. Don't really care which. I do care which, but I think Hudson-Odoi will play right wing back, and I think it'll be Pulisic and then somebody off of him, preferably Lukaku. But if it's Werner, I mean, whatever, I guess,
I mean, it could be Lukaku, but if Tuchel told us he wasn't fit for 45 minutes in the last 3 days, that won't have changed all of a sudden being ready to start a game.
No.
Obviously, people will say Lukaku, he was just protecting Lukaku by saying that, and I kind of agree with it. But it would just Tuchel would make him look self-silly. If he said after the West Ham game, I shouldn't have subbed him on. He wasn't ready for 45 minutes, and then started the next game. He will make himself look silly. So that's why I don't think Lukaku will start.
I mean, you're probably right. Lukaku it'll probably be Werner, which, okay, I'm gonna believe. Hopefully, maybe him and Pulisic together will change things.
I said this midfield 3 thing. If we don't have either Havertz or Lukaku up front, I don't want this midfield 3 thing anymore, to be honest. But did you see what I mean? Like, if we have Lukaku or Havertz up front, try that. Why not? But if we don't have either, I don't really want to see that. If I'm being perfectly honest with you, like, then it's probably more likely to be this, and then either Saul here or just I don't know. I still feel like this. He liked it against Watford. He wasn't as harsh on Loftus-Cheek as a lot of people were. So I feel like he liked it. That whole how we did the second half, and at least we won. But I'm not sure. I mean,
I think you just got to keep playing Lukaku. I agree with Pius what he said. I mean, you just have to play him, unless there's like an overload work, which I don't think there's going to be an overload for him. He hasn't played in 2 months, so I mean, he does need time to get back into the rhythm of things.
I just feel like with how little Lukaku runs, he'll be so cold in minus 15 degrees.
Yeah, but he might have to run then because it'd be so bloody
Maybe,
cold.
yeah, shout. Maybe we just have to play in Russia every time now. We'll get Lukaku to run around. I don't know. I mean, we can put Lukaku down there. It doesn't really matter. Who knows? What do the people think? I don't think so. Will start tomorrow for Zigzag said. I'm pretty confident he does. I'm not sure where, but I'm pretty confident he will start. I will put Werner in second half. Defenders will leave spaces. I don't know. 0 players with risk of suspension. Thank you, Pius, for informing us about that. Hey, let's just leave it at that because it's just pure speculation about how fit is Havertz, how fit is Lukaku. I mean, yeah, Nims, to be fair, they do have a heated stadium, but I don't know. So someone said earlier, is the 15 degrees in the stadium or outside? Probably not outside. I know it's cold in Petersburg, but it's probably not in the heated stadium, I presume. So maybe. But still, I honestly have no idea. Like, the logic would tell me this is the game where we always plan to start Lukaku for the first time because the intensity is quite a bit lower than the Premier League. So it allows him to ease into playing longer, more minutes at once. Easier than it does, especially Leeds, but in general than the Premier League. But at the same time, if the manager says he wasn't ready for 45 minutes, literally on Saturday, and now we're playing Wednesday, and he does start him, that's very confusing to me. But who knows if that's going to be the case. Let's leave it at that because, again, pure speculation. Let's round it out, and let's do some score predictions. Ian, what do you reckon?
1-0, boring.
1-0 boring. See, I don't think you're far off, to be honest. I don't think you're far off. Pice, what do you reckon?
2-1 Chelsea.
2-1. Again, would annoy me if we conceded again. I want to go back to.
I'm pretty sure we'll concede with the amount of changes we're going to make. I'm pretty sure. Although, I mean, against Brentford, we played like Sarr and a couple others. I think it was just Sarr mainly, but we still didn't.
But then Mendy was an unbelievable form. You can't expect him to be like that every time.
We got away with it a bit, but we could not concede. I mean, we could get lucky, but I just feel like we might concede, especially because they're at home. Like, I think they're going to come all guns blazing at us. Probably. So, Clutch, what about you? What do you reckon, score prediction-wise?
3-0. Let's go for it.
I back the positivity.
I was very happy if we score 3 goals tomorrow.
You said 3-0. I didn't know if that was 3 goals for Zenit as they're at home or
0-3.
No. I mean, doesn't Zenit have like the worst goal conceding record in the entire Champions League? I'm pretty sure they do.
Probably not.
And we also
only scored 1 against Zenit at home, so that's not possible.
Oh, it might be Malmo.
I'm pretty sure
they're
Malmo,
shit. They were shit.
It's true. I don't know. I'm gonna I feel like I'm going to agree with Pice, but I could also see us score 3. It just depends on how seriously Zenit take this game if they don't have anything to lose. Like they could just go so much attacking, but not be good enough to actually score that much. So they'll get one, but they'll be open enough defensively that even if we're not in the best of form and have our best players on the pitch, we can still score 2 or 3. So I'm going to say 3-1 just to be different, but who the hell even knows? What I do know is that City are still losing, which is fun. PSG are 3-0 up against Club Brugge. Lionel Messi scored, according to my phone, 5 minutes ago, so that's something. Because, it doesn't do that often for PSG, so, something worth mentioning, unlike when he was at Barcelona. But I think we're going to round it out here. Of course, we're going to be back. Not sure with who yet, but we're going to be back for the player ratings live streams post-game tomorrow. Hopefully discussing a win. Hopefully discussing no more injuries. Hopefully discussing how fantastic Saul is a left wing back and we never have to see Alonso again. But you never know whether it's going to go that way. But ladies and gentlemen, I appreciate every single one of you that has tuned in. Subscribe to Ian. Link is down in the description. Check out Pice and Clutch on Twitter. Of course, also check out Pice's website, which is very good. And you should all be checking out regularly. Subscribe to me if you haven't already. We're on the road to 15,000 subscribers. Like I told you before, smash the like button if you haven't already. But yeah, thank you guys for watching. Up to Chelsea. Upwards and onwards. Let's hope we get it up tomorrow. And I'll see you next time.